Yiggity, and we are back. And y'all know what? I don't know about this Nancy Grace, man. Nancy Grace is straddling the fence, bro. I don't know if she's doing us a justice or injustice or a disservice. Either one of the two. But we gonna go over this internet. I'm Jay Lava. I scour the internet so that you don't have to. And let's go ahead and get into this interview real quick because I'm trying to see what Miss Grace is talking about.
We cannot ignore it. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. Where was he? He wasn't floating. Of a so-called mystery altercation is emerging. Straight out to Crime Stories investigative reporter Dave Mack. Dave, what can you tell me first about this so-called mystery altercation? And this is not with the men that went to Horn Island on the boat. You know what? Let me just be clear. Crime Stories is not a symposium, a gathering place for a witch hunt. We want the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells. We are here to convict no one yet. And if evidence of a mystery altercation with other young men arises, we are pursuing it. Dave Mack, what do we know about some mystery altercation? We think after the Triton left Horn Island.
Nancy, this is a mystery altercation that is being described through social media as something that took place around 5 p.m. that day. This is 30 minutes after the Triton already left. And in this particular account, a Bertram boat was seen leaving shortly afterward at a high rate of speed. Now, this social media conversation claims that a person, one of the passengers, pretty certain Nolan Wells, was part of a group that was, quote, almost fighting around 5 p.m.
Bip, 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 bip. Whoa, wait. Hold on, Nellie. Did you say 5 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I jumped in, Dave Mack, is because 5 p.m., if Nolan was seen in an altercation at 5 p.m. on Horn Island, that's after the Triton, had already left. Let's see the boat, control room. We're talking about the boat leaving Horn Island. That boat. Had that boat already left when this altercation occurred? Dave Mack, that's a yes, no.
Yes.
Listen.
But the person said in the DM to another kid that is associated, not any of the kids that I interviewed to talk to, but that could be associated to some degree, that knew Nolan, that this person wrote a message saying, me and my husband saw you arguing with Nolan, and to the effect of you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Nolan and another person that he may have been in an argument with, to me, are people that need to be investigated.
Guys, let me first introduce Cheryl McCollum, Colgate's Investigative Research Institute founder. Let that sink in at coldcasecrimes.org. She's a star of a hit podcast that I have listened to on loop, by the way, Cheryl McCollum. And I don't like much of what you're saying, yet I keep listening. Zone 7, she's author of a brand new book, Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer, solving the cold case of the Flint River Killer's daughter, and more. But for my purposes tonight, she's a forensics expert. Greg Morse, before I even get to the merits of this, where I meant to go with this is, Everyone has been focusing on the young men that were on the boat that took him to Horn Island. Then we get this audio that we're trying to corroborate, where seemingly in the background you hear them talking about trying to revive Nolan Wells on the boat. Is that even real? We don't know yet. Or has it been doctored? Trying to find out. I've got experts telling me, renowned experts, by the way, it's real, and renowned experts saying it's not real. It's just like a trial, right? Where it's expert v. expert, who's telling the truth.
Sure.
I wanted to talk about this mystery altercation. If it happened at 5 p.m., that boat was already gone. Now,
Well,
as
you're
much
right.
as some people want to hang the young guys on the boat, I want to make sure we hang the right person. If there is a mystery altercation after that boat lift, we need to be investigating that altercation.
Well, you're 100% right, because the three young men that are, at least the people are saying, are involved in this, that went there with Nolan Wells, there's a specific timeline
Put
from what
him
I
up.
read.
Put him
They
up.
needed assistance on their boat. They left at 4:30.
You
They had
just
called
gave me a
CTO.
chill
So
down my spine.
if
You
so,
can't
if there
introduce
is
something because people say, I don't care what people say on either side.
No,
They mean
yeah,
nothing to me. What?
Nancy, that's the problem when we have things like podcasts today and people who are not qualified to talk about serious things like this. They're not experts. They want to get likes. Law enforcement is going to keep information
He
close to the
said he
vest.
saw the DMs. I don't have
Okay,
a
so what does that
reason
mean? That
to think
that's
he
not
didn't
legitimate.
see the DMs. Now,
See?
many people are arguing that he has taken a side. We have not taken a side.
Wh-
I'm on the side
wh-
of
wh-
finding out why everybody got back to the mainland
That was
except Nolan Wells.
Well,
And
listen,
nobody
these
saw
are
anything. Nobody
teenagers.
knows anything. It's just like Tupac Shakur got shot on the strip at
Nancy,
Vegas,
these are
and we still
the,
don't know what happened. Nobody saw a thing. That's BS.
these are young
right.
these are
What?
young men hanging out. It's not unusual one may stay behind to hang out with other people. This is none of that is unusual for teenagers partying
Put
and
him up.
having a good time.
No,
So
not with
that
that.
fact alone doesn't
Morse.
mean anything. What
Where's your cell phone?
Right.
Where is
The-
your cell phone? And try not to lie. Where's your cell phone?
Okay. Right here.
Where's? Oh, really? Because here's mine. So you want to tell me Nolan Wells stayed behind and his cell phone went without him? I understand. Don't everybody start screaming that he didn't want to get it wet. Of course he didn't want to get it wet. But there's ways around that. You can go put it on shore in your
Sure.
shoe
Right.
like everybody else does
Right.
to hide it from people and then retrieve it when you go. But no,
Well,
he
okay.
let the boat leave with his phone. I agree with his
Well,
mother on that. That is not Nolan Wells. He was never away from his phone.
So that doesn't mean anything in and of itself with what's coming out about this. You know, you're talking about him staying behind. You're talking about there's evidence that he was there after 4:30 p.m. If he's there after 4:30 p.m.,
that.
Nolan Wells on that island hanging out with other people, that's it. The fact that a cell phone is on a boat and he's not as a teenager doesn't really mean anything at all.
Okay, you know what? I asked you about a mystery altercation, and should we be looking in that direction right now? And you're like going on and on about the cell phone.
No,
and
but
everybody
that's
that
my
owns
point.
a cell phone,
But-
which is everyone,
but
knows you never
Nancy,
leave
that's
without
my
your cell
point.
phone.
You have to look at what really happened. If there was this mystery altercation, then yes, the police need to be investigating that. They need to be looking into that.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. If you are hosting their home, I'm applying to American LS034 from borrowers who say
May have been
worth, try to get good luck. You know what? Let's hear Tatum again. And hey, take it for what it's worth. Try to get the truth out of what we're hearing.
Woof,
Okay?
what up?
Listen.
Nolan and another person that he may have been in an argument with, to me, are people that need to be investigated.
With that, I agree with Tatum. As much as we disagree on practically everything else, if this happened, and forget about the girl, I'm talking about the altercation. Cheryl McCollum, come on. He dies. Nobody sees him. The others get back safely. Now we're hearing about an altercation afterwards. And I'm not ruling out that he was on that boat when they left. But now I'm hearing about an altercation. When you can't tell the truth of what's happening, look at who was angry. Look if there was an altercation. I don't know what happened, but when I hear altercation after the Triton left, I've got to go there.
You got to look at it. You absolutely cannot ignore it. But one thing we already know from the second autopsy, they would have mentioned if he had any type of injury to his knuckles, if he had been in a fight. We didn't hear anything about abrasions or bruising or any type of injury that would be indicative of somebody that is a college football player fighting somebody.
Okay, now I have just told everybody that you're a forensic expert. It's starting to taste like a dirt sandwich. Because, okay, I'm going to let you sit in the corner and think about what you just said. Joe Scott Morgan is joining me, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, star of a hit series, Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. He is a death investigator with over 10,000 death scenes under his belt, deaths of all genre. Joe Scott Morgan, let's refresh Cheryl McCollum's recollection. That's what you say in court when obviously the witness is gone off the rails. Your Honor, pause, Your Honor, objection. May I refresh the witness's recollection? In other words, get it together. Don't you remember what we just talked about before you got on the stand and you give them a piece of paper and go, can we see that the drawings on the autopsy control room? Joe Scott, there's a big, thank you. There's a big honking mark, subcutaneous, deep reddening tissue on his occipital. If I hit somebody in the back of the head, it'd be right there. We don't know what that is.
No, we don't. But to Cheryl's point, she's accurate. And here's why. Because in forensics, it's not just about positive findings. It's also about negative findings, those things that we are absent. So in that report, as she had mentioned, there was no indication that there was any kind of contusions on the hand, the arm, no kind of defensive event like a parry with a forearm, scuffing of the knuckles, that sort of thing. This forensic pathologist that did the second assessment didn't see any evidence of that. And so that's the first place I'm going to go to, aside from not having the actual primary autopsy report that has not been released yet. But you've got an individual that has, in fact, been retained by the family that's making this assessment. And it's a pretty damn thorough assessment, as a matter of fact, based upon many of them that I've read over the years. You don't see any kind of insults to the arms, the hands, anything like this. The one thing about that thing in the back, this focal area that they're talking about is, and I come back to this all the time, Nancy, is that his body, Nolan's body, is in such a state of decomposition to this point that he cannot make a definitive assessment on that area. And he did a multi-layered dissection, which, by the way, according to him, had not been done by the state medical examiner's office in Mississippi. He just went about it a different way. And as a matter of fact, if you like that one, I got another one. The examination that this physician in DC did on Nolan's remains ranks right up there with the most thorough, hear me talking, the most thorough dissection that you can possibly do on human remains. It's the same one that we do on bodies that have died, individuals that have died that have been incarcerated, in custody deaths. You know what all that means: in the back of a cruiser, in a holding cell, in a prison. Those autopsies rank right up there with the most thorough that we can go. It's a very deep dive that they did on his body.
Joe Scott, you are stating that due to the level of decomposition in Nolan Wells's body, that you can't really figure out why his occipital bone area had deep reddening, and that was seen nowhere else in the body. That's because of decomposition. Isn't that true?
Well, it's true in the sense that that's what
Didn't
the
you just
physician
say
said.
that?
I'm repeating what the physician said in his autopsy report. I didn't do the
So then
examination.
that would be a yes. So at that level of decomp
Yeah,
that you're claiming could
that he's
obscure
claiming.
the nature of the deep reddening on
Yeah.
his occipital area,
Yeah.
but yet on the other side of your mouth, you're claiming that even with this intense decomposition, you didn't see evidence of any reddening on his knuckles or any indication of a fight. So you want it two ways. You want to say, decomp, can't tell what that was on the back of his head, but even though he's highly decomposed, I can tell you, he didn't have any reddening on his knuckles. Really?
No.
Because I
Do you
see a
know?
problem with that.
Okay, you've skinned your knee before, right? Okay. If you have an abrasion, that's completely different than a contusion. That means you have scraping and the tearing away of the skin. That's something that's very obvious. And guess what? I've been in enough fist fights in my life
I
that I
said
know what's
reddening.
scraping. Right, I know, and you're misstating that because it's not a matter of reddening. When we look at hands, we also look at contact points where people are being abraded as a result of scuffing their hands. That's different than a color discoloration. We're talking about the top layer, the epidermis down to the dermis is being scraped away. He doesn't see any evidence of that in his
I'm not
autopsy
talking about
report.
a scrape. I'm talking about if he had, for instance, reddening from a welt, the beginnings of a bruise. With that level of decomp, you're telling me you could still make that out?
No, those two things cannot exist in the same universe. You have to have an abraded area, and there would be multiple of them on his hands if he is punching or trying to defend himself. And yes, we can make out bruises. Yeah, we can make out bruises
You
and
don't always have to have
decomposing
scrapes on
bodies.
your hand when you throw a punch. You don't always have to have cuts on your hand when you throw a punch. That's not true.
Right.
Well, that sounds mighty convenient if that's the road you want to go down, because I've seen them many
That's what I'm
times.
telling you. What you're saying is mighty darn convenient. That the reddening on the back of his head, can't really tell anything because he's so decomposed, but you can see his hands well enough to know he was not in a fist fight. Yeah,
Right.
that's convenient, Joe Scott.
he
Look,
was not in
I'm
a
not
fist
trying
fight.
to convict anybody. I'm trying to find the truth. I'm trying to find out if this evidence of an altercation really happened. And to further muddy the waters, now we have more witnesses stating what they saw.
Another report came to me of someone saying that they saw Nolan with a girl, and they believed that they saw Nolan and this girl struggling in the water, not necessarily drowning, but struggling. Like it was obvious enough that the person was concerned when they saw Nolan in the water.
Why is she using him as a reference? I wouldn't believe nothing this dude got to say.
And he was with this girl.
You know, that's from Officer Tatum's show. Cheryl McCollum, it seems to me that that's not true. Because don't you think if a witness saw one or two people, quote, struggling in the water, I mean, I would try to help them.
It makes no sense.
And they
that
did
wouldn't
nothing?
be yeah, it doesn't make any sense. That wouldn't be their focal, that they would pay attention to those two people that are struggling to see, is one going under and not resurfacing? What can we do to help? The idea that they would watch that, see a struggle, and then what? Turn back and finish barbecuing? That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Not at all. So this is a problem, Greg Morse. You're a veteran trial lawyer. We're getting so much information, and a lot of it is inconsistent. And that is why you have cross-examination. So you can test the evidence. Test whether it's true under the fire of cross-exam. When you have conflicting stories like this, my instinct is to go with the one that makes the most sense. What do you make of these claims that Nolan was struggling in the water? I really believe if he had been, quote, struggling in the water, that either she or her friends would have come forward by now. I mean, what about these guys on the boat that had already left? Don't they want to save them? I mean,
Well,
I'm just trying to
you're
find
right.
out what happened to Nolan. And if this is true, it may place him on the island after they left.
Well, that's it, and that's what the police are doing. Is they're going to run these leads down, and they're going to try to verify what's credible and what's not before they go to a grand jury. They're going to exclude information that they think is completely uncredible. However, all of this information, if people are arrested at some point in the future and charged with a crime for Nolan Wells' death, then all of these conflicting stories, all of these different timelines, they become a conflict in the evidence. And as you know, Nancy, there's 3 ways a jury can find reasonable doubt if this ever gets there. And one of those ways is in a conflict in the evidence. So these are all favorable things that would benefit a defendant or defendants down the road. However, there's a reason why law enforcement does investigations. Professionals do it, not podcasters talking about it. Verified sources, all of that is nonsense. The police are going to keep information to the
Man, see, I don't like how they try to make the public seem like we don't know nothing. Man, what do you mean? Stop playing.
themselves. They're going to also keep information private so they can test statements that come from people and verify what they're saying based on factors that don't get released in the media. So clearly something happened after 4:30 when the Triton boat apparently left. And all of these things the police will find, they will discover. You know, the police can discover whose phones were active at the time in that whole area if they choose. May not be able to use it in court anymore after the recent Supreme Court decision a few weeks ago on cell site location information. However, it's an investigative tool that they can line up who's there. They can also line these things up by the boats, right? And they're calling CETO and things like that. So these are all things the police are going to verify and shake out what they believe led to this young man's death.
I can get the GPS, Morse. I can get the GPS.
Yep.
I can get the cell phone data. I can get the tracking data. I can tell exactly what time the boat left. But I can tell the truth of that. But I can't tell the truth right now about these conflicting reports. Was he on the boat? His phone was on the boat. That's the whole point. He's traveling with his phone, then he's on the boat. They're saying, no, he wasn't on the boat. Now this altercation has arisen, evidence of that emerging after the boat left. Who's telling the truth? The mom, his mom says, no way would he have let the boat leave without his phone. Okay, that said, the mom is getting death threats. Nolan Wells' mother dealing with not only her son is gone, he's dead. The investigation going on. Now she's getting threats. Isn't it true, Susan Hendricks joining us, investigative journalist, author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi, that someone actually called for an investigation into Nolan Wells' mother? Isn't she a home health care nurse?
She is, and it was an anonymous call saying that she needed to be investigated. To me, it was outright backlash connected to what happened to her son. It's despicable considering everything she's already going through. Anonymous calls to say that she's not up to par and needs to be investigated. It's sickening.
Attention homeowners for 7 months in CYE. Good luck. So let me ask you this, Cheryl. How would you go about investigating this altercation, this alleged altercation that took place after the Triton left? Placing Nolan still at Horn Island.
Sure. I need their photo evidence if they have it. I need the eyewitnesses, the ear witnesses, who saw what, when did they see it, how can they prove it? So if they can tell me who was in the altercation with him, then we're going to bring them in if they haven't been brought in. If there's some type of something they've captured on video or a photograph, that would be great. If it's associated with a boat, does that boat have GPS? When did that boat leave? Where did they go? I want all of that. So, you take the totality. You don't just take one thing. But, you're not going to take somebody's word that just put something on the internet. Have they gone down and talked to law enforcement? Will they come down and swear to what they are saying? That's where you're going to start.
The investigation into the death of Nolan Wells is ongoing. If you know or think you know anything, don't hide under your bed. Dial 228-769-3063. Repeat, 228-769-3063. There is a $125,000 reward for information leading to the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells. We remember an American hero, corrections officer.
Hey, y'all, I ain't know if y'all knew this, but they done a new interview, y'all. I'm finna find it, and I'm gonna find it and come back with it. Hold on, y'all, real quick. Hold on. Let me blow this up. Yeah. Ooh, they got a new interview out. What's that about? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, y'all. We got a new interview. Hold on now. Check it out. Uh-oh. They've sat down with Officer Ray Tatum again.
How do you think this should have played out? Because I always question in my mind that when I go back, I look at what happened, I look at the initial stories with Nolan, and you guys knew him, right? I didn't know him. I know none of you guys. I just had a chance to meet you guys more recently. But how do you think this should have gone? If you could control the environment, Nolan is found deceased. How do you guys think that this should have been put out to the world?
Well, first off, like I wish we would have never, like I think about this every day. Like I wish we would have never went out on the 4th of July, because I know this wouldn't have happened. Nolan wouldn't be gone. And like, it's really hard to think about, because it's like,
did this dude ask them how they wanted it to happen? Who cares how they wanted it to happen? What kind of question is that? I couldn't believe. Wow.
I wish I would have done this different, or I wish I would have done that different, because now one of my brothers wanted to like passed away. But I think from the beginning, I'm glad that I called the Coast Guard, and I'm glad that we came together as a group, even from the first day when people started texting us things, saying, crazy things. But I wish it wouldn't have been reported as some type of race thing. I think,
boy, is these dudes sitting up here now playing victim? Is these dudes sitting up here acting like somehow they've been hurt for being the worst quote unquote friends ever as hell? What? These crybaby ass dudes is sitting up there acting like, I'm trying to figure out, y'all, who's giving them all these death threats if they took off their social media? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where's all of these death threats coming from? And y'all ain't got no social media. Did you turn them back on just to see if you had some death threats and turn it back off? Man, these dudes is some little busters. Straight busters. Look how he's sitting up there with his hands folded. Jax, I told y'all these dudes was dweebs. I told y'all. Didn't I tell y'all? I told y'all. See, y'all thought that I made these dudes devils for no reason. No. I told you they was dweebs. Told you. Look at them sitting up there. Look at them. My shoulders is too big for my body face ass nigga. What are you talking about? I told you these was some dweebs right here. Look at him on Officer Race Tatum's podcast, like he's screaming the truth.
It's really bad that like people are pushing the narrative, oh, this is a race thing. Well, obviously it's not. I mean, this is like a brother to us.
if y'all don't stop saying that tagline, that's over. You don't get to use that anymore. All that "this my brother" stuff is done, my friend. It's over for that, dog. I don't want to hear that. Now all of a sudden that was like a brother. You ain't did nothing brotherly. Nothing brotherly has come out of the actions of none of y'all. This is the grand gaslight right here.
I mean, no one's no different than anyone else in our group. And I just wish this wasn't pushed on the media as, oh, this is a bunch of white guys.
Why does he keep othering Nolan? Nolan is no different than anybody in my group. Well, let me hear what he said again.
Pushed on the media as, oh, this is a bunch of white guys that killed a black guy, or this is, you know, like in the beginning it was like 4 guys went to a stranded island and dumped Nolan at the island and just left him there. Like even from the beginning, it was just like this thing, and no one had facts, and they were just pushing this horrible narrative, all lies about everyone, and it's sick. So I wish that would have been completely different. I'm glad I called the Coast Guard. I'm glad I made the first contact.
Hey, notice he ain't as high as he was on the first interview, though. I want y'all to notice that. Notice how he talking. Allegedly. He sure know how to play the victim smoothly. He wasn't talking this smoothly on the first interview. Oh no. Little buster.
Within all of this, I'm glad I was the first one that called Christine Wells that night and told her that we haven't heard from her son.
How could you hear from somebody if you know you got their cell phone, cuz? Are they still saying the same stuff that don't make no sense still? Did they double down on the same don't make no sense? This is crazy.
And I'm glad that I did all of that, but I hate the way this has been perceived by the media and portrayed. This has like been absolutely horrible with the way and the things that they've said to us and done. But other than that, I mean, there's not much I would change from my point of view and my friend's point of view. I think we did everything right, and I know we did nothing wrong.
They never see any fault in their errors. They never see any fault in their ways. Hey man, all y'all tripping, fam. Everybody, all y'all that's watching this program right now, y'all tripping. Y'all don't know what friendship look like, obviously. Obviously, everybody here is confused. Confused on what friendship looked like. Because what they did was real friendship. They did everything right. And how dare you guys? How dare you guys question the actions that they made? Because that's what real friends would do. That is what real friends would do, my friend. Really? I'm like, what? Straight up? Okay, if you say so. If you say so. I can't believe this, y'all. They didn't learn to stay off this man's program already? What's good, ATG? I appreciate the Jews. They didn't learn to stay off this dude's program already? This is crazy. So look, let me go scour and see where this interview is at. And We gonna come back with this interview and some more. I figure because I need to find this. I found this snippet, but if it's to be found, then I'm gonna find it.
I think it's. I also want to say I think it's.
Okay, is this? Oh, TMZ leaked that. Okay, so TMZ, you know what, y'all? TMZ is officially bogus as hell. TMZ is officially on Operation Say the White Boy. Boys, plural. TMZ is on some bullshit. Yep. I said it. I said it and I said it. That's TMZ. Y'all dropping snippets for these punks and for Officer Race Batum Tizatum? Wow. Just wow. But it's all good. We're going to get to it like I always do it. I don't want to hold you, but I'm going to mojo, and scold you about being on code. And you know, I got 4 words for you. I need you to go ahead and subscribe for the vibes, like for the spike in the algorithm, comment your vomit, share if you care about getting Black empowerment everywhere. Please do that on the platforms that we are on, Jones. And just to bring it all the way home, I got love, peace, blessings, and Maloha. I'm out the Doha for sure.